always just that attitude like defending. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, bro. Come on.
Thank you very much for an introduction like that, Ian Wright. And with an intro like that, what more is there to say excluding people deluded? I'm back again. First things first, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. I hope you're doing well and safe. I hope you and your loved ones are in great health. And I hope this week has been, you know, even though it's just started, it's shaping up to be even better than last week, people. And I hope you're all having a strong start to 2023. Hopefully this week or years, you know, this year, this week, this month, you know, just bigger and better for all of you lot. Appreciative of all you guys' support. We just crashed over into the 53K subscribers, people. Without you lot, it couldn't be done. This is our platform. On that, you know, you got to remember, again, football is subjective. It's filled with opinions. Please smash the like button, turn on your notifications, check out my previous uploads, check out the YouTube playlist, follow on all the socials, comment any of your opinions either when this video premieres in the live chat or after in the comment section, or both, people. And don't forget to subscribe if I haven't made that clear. Now, as you know, we are approaching the end of January. Arsenal still haven't got any players in, really, but transfer news, the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. Again, because he's not our player, we've got no chance of obtaining him. I don't really care for this Modric stuff anymore, but an interview has come out with the Athletic. Shakhtar and the Athletic are still milking the Arsenal Chelsea Modric love triangle, which obviously resulted in Modric going to the bad guys, you know, really and truly. We've been linked with Declan Rice. Declan Rice is our alleged top target in the summer. I'm not doubting it, but, you know, Chelsea could circle again. Plus, until it's signed on the dotted line, no one knows. And again, obviously, we've seen for a couple of weeks Arsenal having interest in Declan Rice, and I'm sure everybody does. He's a good player. I'm sure all of the top six English sides, would all be interested. Signing him is another thing. As we know, he's contracted until 2024 with an option of another year. West Ham, it looks like a myth for them, so we don't know. And if I'm a bit cynical, the timing, obviously, if they're talking about the summer, that doesn't really help us. You know, you speak to many Arsenal fans, some Arsenal fans, and I'm a bit on the fence. I do want signings. I do think that would give us our extra push, but I don't want signings for the sake of it. And I'm prepared to kind of wait until the summer if that's the case. Obviously, you're playing a dangerous game with injuries and things like that. But I do think the timing of it, obviously we failed with Modric. You know, we knew he was going to get hit with Zaha, Rafinha links, all of these sort of guys links, and that was going to go full circle. But in terms of a franchise player, which is Modric is described as, obviously we've been linked with Declan Rice. That timing, the timing of even more interest in Declan Rice comes after the fallout of us obviously being unsuccessful in bringing in Modric. So I'm a bit skeptical on the credibility of it, and really anything until people are holding scarves and shirts, I take everything with a pinch of salt. But that doesn't mean we can't have decent topics and talking points. Enough waffling, enough rambling, people. If I share my screen with you guys, share screen. This is a bit weird. What? Sorry, folks, we're having some technical difficulties here. Is this it? All right, cool. Bit of a weird one there. People don't quite know what happened there. You know, normally it's a steady process in that regard. Can't really see why Modric joined Chelsea and not Arsenal by Shakhtar's CEO. Chelsea poached Modric from under the noses of Premier League leaders and London rivals Arsenal over the weekend. Premier League leaders and London rivals, Premier League leaders and London rivals Arsenal. Sounds good, don't it? At 100 million euros in brackets, $108.2 million, 88.7 million pounds in brackets. The deal is a record for a Ukrainian player and for Shakhtar Donetsk, who sold them. And there's actually things coming out of when Roman Abramovich sold Chelsea. He made the new owners commit to spending in a sense of investing in the team. Maybe, I don't know. Well, Roman Abramovich never been shy to take his money out his pocket, but maybe not to this degree, but it kind of makes sense. The 22-year-old was paraded on the pitch at halftime during Chelsea's 1-0 win over Crystal Palace on Sunday after signing a 7.5-year contract, 8.5 if you include the option of another year. Here's how Shakhtar chief executive Sergei Pulkin tells The Athletic how Arsenal first made contact with the player in October or November last year, a month before their interest was formalised with Shakhtar, that the two London clubs offered the same amount for Modric, but the add-ons built into Chelsea's bid were much more achievable and realistic. While Shakhtar suspected a sale might get pushed back to the summer until Chelsea's interest crystallized last week. How Chelsea's new owners are overseeing a project to build one of the best clubs in the world. I mean, Chelsea, everyone, if you're not trying to be the biggest and the baddest and the envy of Europe, you know, Chelsea have won the Premier League and the Champions League twice. It makes sense. So I'm not really going to focus on that. And obviously, we know they've proposed friendlies. They've committed money to war funds in relation to what's happening with Shakhtar, Ukraine, and Russia. I only respectfully big up that, but I only care specifically about Arsenal's team. So anything kind of focusing on Chelsea, we're going to skip past that. Adam Crafton has said a lot of supporters of Premier League clubs are fascinated by this transfer. It looked like Modric, would go to Arsenal, but then in the space of 24 hours, he joined Chelsea. When did you realize Chelsea would be the destination? I realized 2 days ago, Saturday, when Chelsea arrived here, the co-owner and director of global talent and transfers, they came to Antalya in Turkey, obviously where Shakhtar are currently doing their mid-season break preparations. Before Chelsea arrived, I don't know how they were close because I communicated with Arsenal in the same way as I had with Chelsea. Even I can tell you more. I met Arsenal more times than Chelsea. Therefore, before this last meeting, Arsenal was close or a little bit closer to this deal than Chelsea, but they picked to the finishing line. How many times did you meet Arsenal? If you don't count telephone conversations, it was 3 times. From our conversations with sources close to the deal, the impression I have is that Arsenal are confident you have found a compromise with them, and we have even seen the player himself on social media watching Arsenal matches. What, in your view, changed things? Was it the willingness of Chelsea to fly to Turkey and meet the figure? From my point of view, this is why everyone talked about Arsenal, is because Arsenal contacted the player almost 1.5 months before they contacted us. Can you imagine, for example, to have Mikel Arteta, Zinchenko, and the sporting director, Edu, calling you, to have Arsenal calling you almost every day, every 2 days, every 3 days? You can want the move, but can you follow this kind of reception and contacts? If you talk about Chelsea, they called me at the end of December and asked if they can contract Modric because they're interested in him and I want to talk with him. I said, no problem, you can contact him. The first time they contacted him was around the end of December or the start of January. They contacted the player and the agent, the player, and they met the financial conditions. Therefore, why did many people around it have the impression that Modric was going to Arsenal? It's because Arsenal contacted him and then Modric started to watch some games of Arsenal. But negotiations are negotiations. When you don't close everything, when you do not close the last dot, when you do not finish the deal, therefore it was just an outside visual impression that Modric is close to Arsenal. As I say, the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. We can talk, he can do what he does on social media. Until you have a legal binding agreement, everything's up in arms. Where we saw this, people. Were any other clubs close to the deal? There were some contacts, but not serious. It was just 2 clubs, obviously Chelsea and Arsenal. Did you ask Arsenal whether it was right for them to contact the player before they spoke to the club? Normally, clubs can make a complaint when that happens. I'm not being funny, but that happens to Arsenal players when we want to sell players. That is something that happens in football for young players. You reach out to the middlemen, or everybody knows someone, whether their family, their gardener. You do anything to somewhat start indirect communication channels and see Modric's willingness on joining the club, the project, etc. So that isn't something new, really and truly. Chelsea do it all the time. I'm telling you for a fact, do it all the time with young players. Arsenal, everybody does it. That is just something that happens in football. To the wider scheme of the footballing world, that might look like something new, but not necessarily. When I met Arsenal and they mentioned they had already talked to the player and they had contacted the player, to be honest, I knew that beforehand that they had started to contact him. I said, okay, you can start to contact him, but first of all, you should close it with us. But okay, we have what we have. We didn't make a formal complaint. They did what they did. And Shakhtar probably did that for players that they want as well. When they're signing youths from wherever in the world, they're doing that. Our understanding is that the final offers from the 2 clubs, the total figures were basically the same, but the difference was the speed of payments. Is that correct? Overall, it was the same, not approximately the same. So overall, it was kind of the same, not approximately. So it's not the same exactly. It was the same figure, the fixed part, variables part, bonuses. But if you look inside the fixed part and the bonuses, it was completely different. Evidently, Chelsea's were more favorable. In what way? Different time schedule of payments, different kinds of bonuses. Yes, we can talk about bonuses, but these bonuses should be somehow achievable and realistic. Let's say, therefore, in this case, Chelsea was much more serious and fair in some points. When we met Chelsea, we stayed all together. For you to understand the context, it was for 9 or 10 hours. They invited the player and explained to us the whole project. We realized that, yes, if you look right now, Chelsea have some kind of problems, but it's normal because they have a transitional period from one owner to another. And again, with all the talents they're looking to bring in Chelsea, I think we'll get it right. And it'll be bad news for the Prem and great news for Chelsea fans sooner rather than later. It's understandable they would like to change a lot. So when they explain to you the whole story and you look for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then you see they have a serious project. I believe they will build one of the best teams in the world, because I'm telling you, they are very serious in all directions, sports science, the stadium side, the commercial side, on all things. For us, they look very ambitious. Okay, not isolated to anyone else. Big up Chelsea for that. Our information is that Chelsea's deal included add-ons if they win the Premier League or Champions League. Is that accurate? I mean, of course it's going to be. Is there a clause relating to Modric winning the Ballon d'Or? Chelsea's offer has no Ballon d'Or clause, not like Martial United. It's achievable bonuses that we feel and they feel can be reached. Maybe not this year, but in the next 2, 3, or 4 years. He then spoke about a deadline. He said it's 8 years or 7.5. The length of the contract is 8 years, 7 + 1. Did Modric ever say to you, let me leave in January, or would he have waited until the summer? We had no detailed discussions with Modric. He was professional. He did not push us. He did not want us. He did not want to meet us to ask why we had not sold him or complained he had not been sold for 50, 60 million euros. We just said, Mikhail, we are running negotiations. We want to help you and we believe we will finalize it. So just relax, train properly, and that's it. There were no pressure from his side or agent side. Maybe even saw his agents do an interview to say Modric is professional, training well, and they respect he belongs to Shakhtar. Did he speak to Graham Potter? Obviously. On Monday, Shakhtar president announced that his team will play a friendly with Chelsea in the next. Obviously, when things happen, he said, yes, it's written into the contract, and that obviously has some financials behind it as well. But actually, we did not even need to read it in contract, because my man spoke with the president. He supports Ukraine a lot because he's American and it's an English club. So it is geopolitical. I thought we had to keep politics out of football. For what it's worth, I personally think as a young black man, society mirrors football. But it's funny how you can fund wars, you can mention this. Rashford wants to feed kids, and then it kind of goes quiet in that regards, and he's playing well. When you have these pundits, of course, it's not the same. Say he's focusing on football. It's quite crazy. You can even see that reflected in the way they talk about Zinchenko as well. But anyways, so for this, it's a positive triangle, because when you say England and Ukraine, it is important for our war support at this moment. They spoke very well and shook hands. I know, because I translated it. I like the conversation very much, and I believe that it does not matter if it's in the contract or not. It was my man, the Chelsea co-owner, who proposed the friendly because he wanted to help Ukraine, to help the Ukrainian refugees and support the Ukrainian people. Now, that's a bit smart, because obviously that might help them with a couple of others. Obviously, people, there were going to be phone contacts. It's been reported that 25 million from the deal will go to assist medical and psychological needs of soldiers. No, it's our president's own money. He'll donate it himself to the fund. They are organizing a fund to help the defenders of Mariupol and the families of defenders who lost their husbands and fathers. From wider reporting, it appeared that Arsenal made a final offer on Thursday or Friday. Did you speak to Arsenal to tell them it was all done with Chelsea? Before Chelsea arrived in Turkey, we almost agreed with Arsenal that there was no chance to close the deal when they proposed the final offer of 70 million euros. This is why, we take all the media reports with a pinch of salt, because in reality, it was never as close as what all these guys and journalists and all these Twitter dons thought. Plus 30 million euros in add-ons. We sat down and started to talk internally about how it would be fulfilled in terms of payments, the fixed part and the bonus issues. We realized we will not close this deal with Arsenal. I said to Edu that I did my best, but it was not possible. Was there relief when Chelsea came in? When Chelsea arrived, they just called and said, okay, we know you negotiated with Arsenal. We know you are close with some kind of figure. So it's almost like Chelsea just waited for Arsenal to do the framework. They saw where Arsenal went wrong and just bettered it. We want to meet. I said, okay, let's meet. I told Modric, if I do not sell you in the winter, we'll definitely sell you in the summer. I said, maybe you will cost even more in the summertime. We are ready to accept different scenarios. We would not be rushed. Fair enough. They hadn't contracted until 2025, played 44 times. They still at the time trying to achieve whatever they were trying to achieve. So they're in a position of strength. So while meeting Chelsea, did you need to keep a poker face to say Arsenal is still involved? But this football world is quite close. I know for sure that everybody knows what's going on from the Arsenal side, Chelsea side. These kind of negotiations involve a lot of people. A lot of journalists are around it too. Could say Ben Jacobs or Romano. A lot of guys who can provide some kind of info so everyone knows what's going on. So there you have it. Obviously, speaking about the record deal, respectfully, big up what's going on in Ukraine or what it means for Ukrainian football. I don't give a flying monkeys in relation to this with Modric, because it's nothing to do with Arsenal. Shout out to you lot. So I'm not going to waste any time focusing on that part. So that appears to be it. Moving away, apparently Arsenal plot move for West Ham captain Declan Rice as confidence of summer deal grows. I mean, when they're publicized like this, it does leave you a bit nervy. By all means, bring Declan Rice to the carpet. 24 years of age, wealth of experience, provides a bit of longevity where Xhaka, Partey and El Nene, even though you turn 30, it doesn't mean you're finished. They don't have that. We have longevity in the middle. I mean, in the defensive and attacking thirds, we don't quite have that in the midfield. We do when you factor in Smith Rowe, Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira, and Odegaard, who can all play there. Obviously, young Charlie Patino's developing quite well, but where the actual first teamers right now, you've got El Nene, Xhaka, Partey, you know, and then they could probably hang around like a spare part if we get Champions League football when we need more bodies. Partey, you know, it's always he stayed fit, but it's always touch and go. Xhaka is an amazing footballer for Arsenal Football Club, but you want not that you need to replace him, and I don't think Declan Rice is a direct replacement for him. Don't wait till his best days are past him to get. We need to somewhat find the replacements before the replacements are even needed. Declan Rice would be a lit target, people. You know, he's rejected 3 contract offers, as it says here, to stay in East London. He's contracted until 2024. He has an option of another year. But for what it's worth, yeah, bring him if you could. But this seems like a summer thing, and everyone's going to be interested. I'm sure he's enticed by staying in London, going back to Chelsea, Manchester United under Ten Hag, and the historical prestige of Man United. Who wouldn't want to learn under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City? And, you know, Declan Rice spoke a few days ago about what Arsenal are doing, so it makes sense. But Arsenal are planning a summer move for West Ham midfielder Declan Rice and are growing in confidence that a deal can be done. Rice's contract expires in the summer of 2024, and the 24-year-old has so far rejected 3 offers to extend his stay in East London. Chelsea, Man City, Man United have all previously registered an interest in the midfielder, with Chelsea initially exploring a potential transfer in the summer of 2020. And obviously Chelsea need to address their midfield, so I would watch that space, people. I'm kind of pessimistic on Declan Rice signing for Arsenal. I hope to be wrong. Arsenal are now increasingly optimistic, where we heard that before, of beating, you know, we heard that with Modric, of Rafinha, etc., but Spanish always thrown in the works. Arsenal are now increasingly optimistic of beating their Premier League rivals to the £80 million rated England international. Declan Rice is keen to compete for trophies and play Champions League football. He previously said in December, 100% I want to play in the Champions League. For the last 2 or 3 years, I've been saying that I've been playing consistently well for my club. I feel like I really want to keep pushing. I see my friends here who are playing Champions League football and for big trophies. This was obviously around the World Cup times, people. Once again, Rice's contract contains a 1-year option, but London Stadium Chiefs believe this summer is their last chance to earn a sizable fee for the midfielder. As much as I like Declan Rice, and it's not my money, and if we sign him, you know, he's definitely better technically and progressive passing-wise than people give him credit for. I'd rather spend that 80+ million on more of a match winner, a midfielder that's more likely to control the tempo of a game, score a couple of goals, bring in the more attacking players, than someone like Declan Rice, who is essentially a piano pusher. Not to negate anything he does in the team. He's a vital player for England. There's some markable reasons. He's 23, 24, great days ahead of him, Premier League proven, English, all of that jazz. So I'm all for it. Arsenal's ambitions to acquire Rice makes it possible that they will once again go head-to-head with Chelsea for the signings, as with João Felix and Modric. Can we at least make it 2-1 in that regards? Arsenal were beating this window to the signing of both players, but already turning their attention to summer reinforcements. I mean, fair enough. João Felix, us and United stepped away as it became apparent we're not on it. We lost him for Modric. They did attempt to land a central midfield on the final day of the summer transfer window, making multiple bids for Douglas Luiz. Since then, Partey and El Nene have returned. And again, I think the one guy, I hope he does well, because he might have thrown a spanner in the works, but the one guy in midfield out of the pure centre mid options, the Xhakas, the Partey, someone that's going to line up in a pivot behind Odegaard. Lokonga is the one guy with longevity, but there's also not really longevity because there's uncertainty as to whether he's actually good enough, consistent enough, or has the minerals to make it at Arsenal. I hope he can, but who knows, people. So you're going to have to draw whatever you need to draw. But West Ham are resigned to lose an Arsenal target, Declan Rice, but will demand a fee of over 100 million. Oh, I mean, 100 million on Declan Rice is what it is. But boy, I don't think anyone's going to really want to do that, people. He's rejected several offers, people. West Ham have privately accepted that they will sell at the end of the campaign. So we'll have to see. And obviously, Chelsea will be linked with Bellingham, Enzo Fernandez, and they might just swoop Declan Rice same way. So again, others are coming out. Again, it's a transitional period for West Ham. I do think in footballing terms, many more life for David Moyes, but he seems like, you know, I don't think you get much money from the bookies if he was to, you know, put money on David Moyes joining the chopping block. So they, despite having a number of decent seasons, West Ham are in a transitional period. They're having a woeful season, and it feels like the marriage that has been Declan Rice and West Ham needs to, you know, divorce, really. Funny old game of opinions. Released by Chelsea, gone on to play for England at West Ham, 100 million odd player, and every club's missed out there. So we'll have to see, people. Chelsea, previously seen as favourites, have cooled their interest as they focus on Hernandez and Moses Caicedo. Manchester United need Need for a holding midfielder has lessened following the signing of Casemiro, while Man City brought in Calvin Phillips as backup to Rodri. Rice appeared beyond Arsenal's reach, but with the Gunners top of the division and heading for Champions League return, the club are hoping to raise their sights. And we need curtain raisers, you know. There might even be players that play week in, week out for Arsenal. If you get in the Champions League and you want to make this sort of season not just a blip and surprise people, but a minimum, you might have to make some tough decisions and maybe spending a bit on Declan Rice or anyone else. Only 3 players have made 40-plus tackles and been dribbled past fewer than 10 times in the Premier League this season. You've got Onana of Everton, Declan Rice and Moses Caicedo. So that's a decent statistic there. You know, previous weeks ago, Declan Rice spoke on Arsenal and he labelled us as title challengers and things like that, people. And he bigged up Mikel Arteta as well. You know, and you saw firsthand what we're bringing to the table. So, you know, sign for us then if that's it. But, you know, for what it's worth, I'd love him to sign, but it is what it is. The Daily Mail's also said we've made Declan Rice our top summer target and we're willing to break our transfer record for such people. Sources suggest Arsenal confident they can beat fellow admirers Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea are beating us for 2 targets, and they'll blow everybody out the water, really. So I'm not too sure, people. Sources have indicated to Sportsmail that Arsenal believe they're well placed to beat their London rivals to the signature this summer. I mean, Chelsea, you know, every time Chelsea finish 8th or 10th, the next year, which would be 23-24, they always come back strong. I think Chelsea will return, but maybe you could take advantage of such people. So we'll have to see, really and truly. Well, again, English tax is not going to be cheap, and we've seen it with not necessarily English players that are playing in England. Douglas Luiz, Rafinha, Pedro Neto. We've been down this Telemans to a degree. We've been here with, are we putting down Zaha? Are we putting down the P's or not? And then if you're not, you have to keep it moving. Once again, Arsenal have made him their top target and are growing in confidence a deal can be done, folks. Fabrizio Romano has said Arsenal have an interest and they've discussed him internally. I'm told that nothing will be decided for Declan Rice now, also because the player is not leaving in January as things stand. But for sure, Arsenal have an interest, as has been reported, and they discussed Declan internally. He's appreciated by many clubs, including Chelsea, but again, it will take time to see where Declan will go. No discussions have taken place on the player's side. So it is what it is. Moving away from that, apparently Bayer Leverkusen forward Moussa Diaby is a topic at Arsenal. The 23-year-old Frenchman is still under contract with the Bundesliga side until 2025. So it should be an expensive deal, people. So we'll have to see in relation to Moussa Diaby. And you'd love to have that done in January, people, really, because we need a wide man. The Arsenal executives have long preferred to do business in the summer window, believing it to be a better time to find value for players and embed players into Mikel Arteta's system. Based on last summer and the summer before that, you know, can't disagree. Part of the reason Arsenal were unwilling to match Chelsea's bid for Modric in this transfer window is because they knew that paying over the odds for a player would have an impact on summer spending plans. Fair enough, really and truly. Arsenal are interested in buying Leverkusen's Moussa Diaby. Again, we have had an interest in him. He has 2 years left on his deal. We had a failed pursuit of Modric. Will Leverkusen let him leave in the summer? I'm not too sure. I'm not going to lie. I'm not 100% convinced with Moussa Diaby. I think he's a good player. You know, definitely more established at this moment in time than Modric. But it all depends on what they're asking for, if I'm honest with you. Arsenal are reportedly interested in buying Leverkusen winger Moussa Diaby as Mikel Arteta looks to bolster his squad ahead of his side's title push. Scrolling all the way down. Obviously, having been frustrated by Modric snubbing the Gunners, Arteta has turned his attention to Diaby. And anyone, whether it's Rafinha, Diaby, any Pedro Neto, you're not all going to get 100 million euros, and Arsenal have shown they'll walk away. But every owner or everyone in charge of selling players at their club, they're going to say, well, hang on, you was willing to commit X amount of money for a man that's only played 8 times for his country and played 44 times for Shakhtar. What's going on there? So we have kind of showed our hands, people. Obviously, he can play on either flank as well as up front. He has 43 goals and 41 assists across 146 appearances. I mean, if Arteta couldn't, I think there is more gears in his game and he could play to a higher level more consistently. If Arteta deems that talent ID, I want him and he can unlock that, fair enough. By this moment in time, I think he's a quality player, would be happy to sign him. All depends on the fee, innit? The 23-year-old has been capped 8 times for France, has a contract at Leverkusen until 2025, which will only increase the transfer fee. He's previously been linked with Newcastle, who had allegedly been preparing 50 million, but Leverkusen value him closer to 75 million at the time, people. We've allegedly also looked at bringing in Rafinha, but he's had 100 million pounds price tag slapped on his head, people. Apparently, the Catalan Giants are open to selling the ex-lead forward during the window, but only if interested parties agree to play 100 million. Laporte is willing to negotiate a transfer package for Rafinha, who only joined in July for 55 million. That's very different from what we spoke about yesterday. Smash the like button, people. Further confirmation of us wanting to sign Diaby and things like that, people. So you'll have to see. In relation to Rafinha, 1 minute he wants to stay, then he wants to leave. Arsenal could have a chance of signing Barcelona winger Rafinha, with reports claiming he wants to leave in the January transfer window. Scrolling down, apparently it's claimed that Rafinha wants to leave Barca, with Arteta asking Arsenal to secure the signing. Doesn't say anything beyond that, really and truly. We heard yesterday that he doesn't want to end his Barcelona dream after only being 6 months, people. Romano has provided an update on the contracts of Martinelli, Saka and Saliba. He said they're all very positive, but it will take time to get the deals signed this year. Timing is up to the club and the player. Could be any moment or month, so it isn't anything crystal clear in that regard. In relation to Rafinha and keeping up that theme, Arsenal contact Barcelona over Rafinha and Ferran Torres. We've heard this before and we've spoken about this. Obviously, we need to find a plan in relation to this Modric stuff. Arsenal made contact with Barcelona to explore deals for Rafinha and Ferran Torres. Allegedly, people, both Rafinha and Torres were discussed, with Arsenal understood to have held exploratory talks over a number of possible alternatives to Modric, people. Allegedly, Edu has reached out to Barcelona as his search for alternatives continue. We'll have to see exactly in that regards, people. It doesn't seem that came to anything. Allegedly, Arsenal are also among the sides to be monitoring Napoli sensation KK, who has been made unavailable for transfer and is likely to cost in excess of 100 million. Even though he's been on the scene 2 minutes, I'd give them their 100 million. But 100 million is only going to get the conversation started, people. The dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. He just joined Napoli. They know that they've got an asset. Napoli are difficult to do business with. Napoli are going after Serie A title. It doesn't make sense to sell Osimhen or KK in January as we approach the end of the market and have to scramble for targets, unless there's an offer that's worth your money, really. They signed him for 10 million. He's worth over 100. Great profit, really. What I would say is, why can't we sign these guys before they make these moves? So, that's the one rumor that I would love to be a fact. But again, it's a very different story correlating that, people. That's again in relation to Declan Rice. Arsenal know they need and want to recruit this month. Felix was an opportunity and they were planning for Modric. They haven't been pursuing alternatives nor other deals on the back burner, but it doesn't mean they can't explore new opportunities, says David Ornstein. But David Ornstein had us believe, that Modric was dead set on Arsenal. I'm not trying to catch David Ornstein or anyone out. Essentially, no matter how informed these guys are, how close they are to negotiation and things, it's always guesswork. And as I said, with these big deals, the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. Unless you're in the Chelsea sporting director stuff, Arsenal the same, or any clubs that you want to buy players, you don't know how close or how far deals are. I find it very hard to believe. When we get things done is another thing. Arsenal be incredibly naive to not have alternatives or be pursuing them on the back burner. What level of interest, whether we return calls, is a complete different thing. So it is what it is. Arsenal have been joined by Manchester United in the pursuit of Real Valladolid defender Ivan Fresnadar. There's also some reports that Newcastle have intensified discussions, people. He has a release clause of 8.8 million, allegedly, people. Some even say 13 million. Apparently, if he plays 10 or so more games, that his release clause boosts up to 30 million euros, which isn't that much. But surely you're better off signing him now and maybe even letting him stay at Valladolid for another year and do what he's doing, people, because he only has 13 appearances for them to his name, so he's doing good. But yeah, it is what it is. Carrying on, people, we've also been linked with Facundo Torres again, people. Arsenal in transfer talks with Orlando City star Facundo Torres. He has confirmed that his club have held talks with Arsenal over a possible, or better yet, potential deal. Orlando City confirmed to me that there was contact with Arsenal, but then I left for the World Cup and I didn't want to hear about a potential transfer at that point. So the conversation stayed there. But now that I'm back with the team, we'll see where the conversation goes. I would love to play in Europe. It's a dream I've had since I was a kid. At the moment, I'm focused on Orlando City, but La Liga or the Premier League would be my targets. And that's where the rumors are coming from. But yeah, I would absolutely love that, people. He has stated, and carrying on that theme as well. Let's see if he said anything new here, really. No, it's the same thing there, people. So where the transfer news is concerned, please let me know your opinion. Smash the like button and all of that. But where Facundo Torres, Declan Rice, Modric, Diaby, all of these guys are concerned, that's all I've got to really say on the matter, people. Or better yet, all the articles we've seen. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, turn on your notifications. Let me know your opinions. You lot stay blessed, stay in good health. I hope you lot have had a good time here. Appreciative of all your support. God bless you all. I'm out.
that.
attacking when defending.
I think it's like